The divisional playoffs, like we said, were incredible. What was your favorite game out of all of them? Was it, in fact, the Bills and the Chiefs, just because it was so crazy?
Probably. I mean, but close second was probably Tampa and LA.
Tom Brady made it a game for sure.
That was crazy. And I honestly, at that point, I'm like, I thought they were going to find a way to win too, Tampa, but for some, Todd Bowles had a brain fart.
He didn't have a lot of those this year in his defense.
No, it was, I don't know. That was just dumb. But, you got to cover Cooper Kupp. He's the best receiver in football. But yeah, I thought, that was a good one. The Titans game was kind of lame, actually, the Titans-Bengals game. Just a lot of ineptitude by the Titans. So it was
Ryan Tannehill mainly.
It was still a good game. I mean, a close game, but,
Do you think that Derrick Henry was not 100% for that game? Just based on he carried 20 times, which is a decent workload coming back. But
I think he was. Yards. I don't think he probably wasn't 100%, but I also think everybody made such a big deal about him coming back. The Bengals knew he was going to be a focus, right? So they could focus in on that and then make I mean, we talked about it. We never thought Tannehill was going to go win playoff games for the Titans. That
maybe you and I, the previous host, had something to say about it, but he almost died.
He really thought Tannehill was amazing.
Yep.
He did regret his.
I know. I saw that. He's like, I'm going to get off on that hill before I die on it.
Yeah, exactly. He said, no need to die on that one anymore, which makes sense. That was bad. He's bad. I mean, he's adequate, like we've said.
I was going to say adequate is the word.
Very, very okay.
So yeah, and he definitely had, obviously, adequate quarterbacks also have games where they're actually excellent, but he's just has enough mediocrity and enough games like that where it's like, all right, this is where you really need to rely on a quarterback a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, they've most of the time in the playoffs too, at least in recent memory, it's quarterback driven. I mean, you have to rely on your quarterback making plays, and teams with the best quarterbacks are advancing to this point, other than San Francisco.
Yeah.
So they've obviously got the worst quarterback left. You're always going to have that one team that has that. But even Jimmy G has played well in spots.
And that just, again, it seemed like a really fluke game.
Weird.
Like Aaron Rodgers finally gets his home field advantage again and tries to move on it. He just can't beat the 49ers. Isn't he 0-6 against the 49ers in the playoffs?
I think so.
That is wild to me. The running game couldn't get going. Aaron Rodgers averaged like 7.5 yards an attempt. So some players just couldn't get open. Aaron Jones was the leading receiver.
Yeah.
He didn't trust anybody else. It was Aaron Jones with 9 catches, Devontae Adams with 9 catches, and then Lazard and Lewis each had 1. Nobody else got the ball.
Yeah, I didn't think Rodgers played all that well. Overall, the loss isn't on him. I mean, there were a lot of mistakes by the Packers, just throughout the whole game on all sides, both sides of the ball, special teams too, obviously. That blocked field goal at the end of the half was big deal, really big deal. But yeah, I mean, I don't think he played well. I thought he had maybe one of his worst games of the season at a time when you absolutely cannot do that. So, that game was kind of lame too. I mean, not lame, just one of those where it was just like, what is going on here type of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the Chiefs Bills game might have been the best game of the season. Probably was the best game of the season overall. Two teams. I mean, that could have been.
That game really could have kept going. I mean, with Tyrann Mathieu out the rest of that game too for the Chiefs, their defense wasn't going to do anything in the secondary. Gabriel Davis went off in that game. Stephon Diggs' only highlight was tackling the runner on the field.
Nice tackle though.
Yeah, it was solid actually. Yeah, just that's probably what happens when you have a lot of frustration pent up.
Yes,
it'd be a good hit. But real quick, I want to get your thoughts. Aaron Rodgers, is he back as a Packer next year?
I'm gonna say no.
You say no. Okay.
Last year, I think we talked about the same thing. Not quite at this time, but probably after the season, I think we talked about it. And I think I said yes. I don't know. We'd have to look back, but I'm actually going to say no this year.
Okay. Well, I made a hot take earlier today, and I believe Aaron Rodgers is retiring.
I don't think he's going to retire.
He does not seem like he loves football. He's just like, meh, whatever.
I think he just likes to come off as that guy because that's just how he wants to portray himself, as this guy that just has better things to do, right? Just laid back. I have better things to do, guy. I even think Tom Brady's coming back for one more. Which I know all signs are pointing to, family
signs
time.
Signs point to retirement almost every year the last 4 years.
Exactly. I think he's going to come back for one more.
But he said, I don't like to know I'm retiring. He doesn't want to focus on that at all. Like, he doesn't want some fancy finish or whatever.
Right. No, I think he's just going to say, hey, I'm coming back.
So you don't think he's going to say one more?
I don't think he's going to say I'm coming back for one more. No, I think he's probably just going to say, hey, I'm coming back, and I think he'll reevaluate next year too. He said before he wants to play until he's 50. So, which
he just
he'll got a few more years.
Yeah, and listening to him in previous years though, he didn't. I know he does talk about like his family's decision is important to him, but this one it really seemed like he was dialed in on that.
This is probably more serious, I think, and I think it's just he's probably worn out.
Mm-hmm.
And he's probably sitting there going, okay, like that's a lot of work for a 45-year-old guy, that's a lot. And to do it at that high level, like you have to devote everything you have to it. And he's getting to a point where it's like, hey, I do want to spend time with my kids too. And my wife, like they deserve that too. So I think it's going to be more of a all-in family decision, but I actually do think he's going to come back. So
I think he's retiring. But I think it's going to be a weird year because I think Brady, Big Ben, Fitzpatrick, Joe Flacco, Josh Johnson, Aaron Rodgers, Chad Henne, I think they're all retiring this year.
I mean, Chad Henne makes sense. He's been around. Well, I guess Brady's the most tenured, but I think Rodgers and Brady are both back. Rodgers, I think, is at a different team, whether that be Indianapolis or Pittsburgh, maybe.
I've seen Denver too.
I wouldn't be surprised Indianapolis. He's got that Pat McAfee thing going on. I wouldn't be surprised. I could see that, and that would make that team terrifying. Terrifying.
With Jonathan Taylor, best running back in football. Yeah, I know.
That would be a really good team. Like that was, Carson Wentz was so bad. That was the reason they lost. I mean, he was
unless Aaron Rodgers is the Aaron Rodgers he was in the playoff game, and maybe this is the start of his decline.
Yeah, but I don't even care. That would be such a fun team to watch during the regular season. That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
What Rodgers has done just with some pretty crappy Packers teams. I mean, they were good, but like real not great Packers teams. In the past few years, put him with a crazy good running game and a couple good receivers. I don't know.
Well,
I think that would be enticing to him too.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised. I think he still loves football. I know he's not playing it off as he is, but I think he still loves football. But I think he really would enjoy like a change of scenery, and I think it would be good for him too, just something different.
Yeah, like Peyton Manning did in his last couple of years,
Yeah, Brady's doing it. Brady's been doing it too. I mean, just something different, something you're not,
And probably even Stafford. I mean, Stafford's probably playing for another 2 years after this too, in my opinion. So.
Yep. So.
Bengals Chiefs. Let's go to the AFC Championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of preview this game. Obviously, the Bengals. They've been just an exciting team. They've got all like the quotes of the year pretty much popping up. And I saw that Joe Burrow said Evan McPherson came up and said, "Looks like we're going to the AFC Championship game," right before he kicked the 52-yard field goal to win it. Rookie confidence. That's impressive, especially with a kicker like that. That is a position where you can, lose it real quick if you haven't built up that confidence, especially as a rookie. So.
Yep. They did draft him though. They knew they had a good one there. They actually used a pick on him.
Yeah.
So.
And obviously Burrow has pretty much been money. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, CJ Uzomah's been effective. The passing game is as elite as they come right now, and Nixon has done enough to keep teams on their toes as well in these playoffs. Defense has been quite strong, but like they're bend don't break strong. So I think this team is capable of getting scored on. The defense is capable of getting scored on, but they've also got a very underrated defense, especially if that pass rush stays effective. What do you think in this game? Obviously, the Chiefs, we're going to see if Matthew is going to come out of concussion protocol for this game, which seems like they usually just push people through in the playoffs. Team safety is, not necessary in this kind of situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Chiefs win, and I think, I don't know if going away, but I think they win probably by 10 points. I think they're pretty comfortably winning this game in the end. Cincinnati is kind of is super confident right now, and that's tough to play against a team that confident. But I mean, the Chiefs, after what they just did, and were able to overcome, I mean, they should be as confident, if not more confident, than Cincinnati right now. So, and the Chiefs can win a few different ways. They've kind of learned how to win an uglier game too. But I don't actually expect this to be an ugly game. I expect it to be up and down a little bit. But the Bengals, I don't know. I don't want to say it's like an experience thing, but it sort of is to me. I mean, the Chiefs have just been here consistently for the past half decade, and it matters. I mean, in the end, it does matter to an extent. So I just don't. I mean, the Chiefs front doesn't scare me to a point where it's like Joe Burrow's going to die, right? But I mean, there's enough up there with Frank Clark wreaking havoc, and there's enough to just to make Joe Burrow feel them. And they're pretty good. They're pretty good in the secondary. They're probably going to give up some plays, certainly, to that trio of wide receivers. But yeah, I don't feel confident that the Bengals defense is going to actually hold up for 4 quarters. I mean, there's too many weapons on. I mean, Edwards-Helaire came back and was going crazy for a period of time in that last game. Jerick McKinnon's been awesome. I don't know how you cover Kelsey. No one's figured out how to cover Kelsey in the past.
Well, Kelsey and Hill. You can't cover Kelsey and Hill. They just know how to stretch out defenses. That's the problem.
Yeah, no one's figured out how to legitimately cover Travis Kelsey in about 5 years. So, yeah, I mean, they're getting better. I mean, they're Byron Pringle's had moments. Nicole Hardman's had moments. I mean, they're really tough to defend, and I think they're even getting better as this, towards the end of the season. I think they've kind of hit their stride. And Mahomes is playing at a really, really, really high level. When early on in the year, he actually had a few struggles here and there, and he's just not.
He's actually a bottom 10 quarterback statistically for the first 5 games of the season. So
yeah, I mean, he was throwing interceptions, so he was struggling. But I think they've sort of figured some stuff out. They're mixing in the run game just enough, and I don't know how you defend the whole field with all that speed they have on the field all the time. So yeah, I mean. Bengals might be able to score with them for a while, but I don't think they can for the whole game. So,
well, we talked about it last week's episode, where the Bucs basically laid out the blueprint last year's Super Bowl on how to beat Kansas City, and that is pressure. Because I don't think the Bucs really covered Travis Kelsey.
No, he had like 12 catches.
Yeah, and Tyreek Hill they took care of the over top and stuff for sure, but you have to choose one. So you choose them, you force them to little by little plays, because it's going to eventually be a better chance.
They get impatient because they want to go over the top to Hill, and you need to go over the top to Hill, even though he is probably the fastest guy in the NFL. You still need time, right? And then if and they didn't have any time.
0 time in the Super Bowl. Yeah. So I mean, we'll see if Cam Sample and Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard and Larry Ogunjobi are able to create, pressure on that line. I just think Kansas City, the Chiefs O linemen are also well-renowned linemen.
They're much better than that team last year.
They had some struggles throughout the year, haven't been super consistent, but this is, like you said, they've hit their stride, and I think the team has kind of come together as a whole. I don't see a way that the Bengals win this game. But I actually think it's going to I'm going to say 34 to 20. It's kind of my pick right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep. I think it'll be a good game in the first half.
Yeah, I think they're going to just get worn down by mid third quarter. I think is when it starts going away. So. All right, NFC Championship game. The San Francisco 49ers have surprised people and gotten here to face the LA Rams, who I guess would also say have surprised some people with Matthew Stafford's lack of playoff experience. I think he, I don't put QB wins on players because it's still a team effort, but he's really been a huge part of the reason that they are in this position. He's played incredible.
Yeah, I mean, the Rams changed when they finally got OBJ to a point where he can be, a threat to go along with Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee, some of those other guys. And then really, even though he decided to just keep fumbling this last game, getting Cam Akers back is a big difference.
Cam Akers had fumbles too, though. It was a frustrating. I think Cam Akers fumbled twice.
He decided to just keep fumbling last week. He almost blew the game. I mean, really, he almost handed the game over.
Well, because it was right before halftime too. They could have went up 27-3, and he fumbled inside the 10.
He fumbled in there, and then he fumbled with like minute and a half left or whatever.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean. But he's a weapon, right? And I'm sure he'll figure out the fumble problem. So now, they kind of are like the Chiefs. The offense is not the same. They don't have quite that speed, but Cooper Kupp has been the best receiver in football. OBJ can be, I mean, from a talent standpoint, and top 5 receiver in football still. Tyler Higbee is a great tight end, and Stafford is, when he's given time, and he's been given time, like the offensive line is playing great. When he is given time, he's deadly. Right. I don't think, there were times in his Lions career when he would even make something out of nothing when he wasn't given time. I'm not sure he has the health or the ability to do that anymore as he's gotten a little bit older and more banged up, because I still think he's hurt. The ankle is a problem, the back, he's still going to have that. But when given time, that guy is as good as any quarterback in football still. So if they give him time, and don't get me wrong, the 49ers front is pretty vicious, especially when everybody's healthy. But if they give him time, I think they're going to take care of business. I just don't see, there's too many weapons out there for San Francisco to keep up with. Yeah, they've done some really cool stuff with Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, all the running backs, but I mean, there's not enough there. They're kind of piecing together enough dynamic plays each game. But Garoppolo isn't that kind of guy that's just going to really dominate a football game and take it over. Every other quarterback left can dominate a football game and take it over. I was not even remotely in that sense. He cannot do that. I've never seen him do it.
Deebo Samuel is going to be an effective part of the 49ers strategy. I mean, obviously they got him in the backfield. They got him carries 10 times in the last game. And obviously he was effective in the receiving game as well. But I don't like the key is going to be, because I don't think Garoppolo is going to win it with his arm, is going to be the run game once again for the 49ers. And their offensive line definitely creates a lot of push. But pushing Aaron Donald, pushing Von Miller, it's going to be a little bit different. And I think that middle is going to be chewed up. I wouldn't say that the Rams linebackers are super great, but their outside linebackers are. Leonard Floyd's one of the better ones. And Micah Kaiser's pretty good. They've got guys that Troy Reader. I like the linebackers to cover the outside run, and I think that's going to be what is going to need to be successful. Elijah Mitchell can certainly do that. He might even break off one really nice carry and stuff. But the Rams defense has in the wild card game against the Cardinals, Cardinals carried 18 times for 61 yards, which is under 3.5 yards a carry. And then when they played against the Bucks, Leonard Fournette, who is playoff Lenny, he's good in the playoffs, right? I think he had 15 carries for 51 yards. So again, not super effective, just over 3 yards a carry. So I don't see the 49ers popping off, chunk yardage on the ground.
The way the 49ers win this game is keeping the game close enough to where they can stick to the run game, right? I'm not saying they're going to be able to always run the ball, and they don't need to run the ball for 150 yards, but to keep it to a point where the run game is still something that matters and something the Rams have to account for makes the 49ers tough, right? Because they have a diverse run game. They do a lot of different things. And then Garoppolo's not a bad quarterback off of play action. You can get the ball to Kittle, things like that. But you have to have the run game be effective and still be a part of the game plan in the fourth quarter in order for it to even work. And that's been the difference. The last two games that the Rams have played, I mean, they were destroying these teams for the most part. Yeah, I mean, the Bucs made it a real close game, but Brady threw the ball like 54 times. So, to bring him back, right? That was the only way to bring him back. And then the Cardinals had to abandon the run game because they were just getting killed. So if they can get it to the fourth quarter where they can still run the ball and have it be a part of the game plan, then I think they have a chance. But if they're down 14 points going into the fourth, or more, or if they're down by more than 10 points going into the fourth, I don't think they can. I don't expect it. I think the Rams pull away with it easily because Garoppolo's not really going to bring you back with just his arm. They have to be able to mix it up, go with both, and that makes Garoppolo better because of his play action. So.
Yeah, I really think this game could be a blowout. You're 100% right. They do rely so much more on that run game that this game has to stay close for it to even be a matchup.
They can get it. They can keep it close. I mean, the way they play, like we talked about all year long, the way the Lions have to play. They got to keep everything close to the vest. They have to play this perfect brand of football in order to even have a chance. But the 49ers can play that brand of football. They don't need to. It doesn't need to be this wide open game, right? That like the Chiefs and Bills, that's not the kind of game they want, and they won't let it get to that point. But the problem is, I think the Rams can play multiple kind of styles just because
I think that's the benefit on the offensive side, at least. Matthew Stafford, with all the different offensive coordinators, all the different offenses, ran back in Detroit, and now he's with a more wide open offense. If it comes down to a quick pass rush or whatever, because we talked about that, the defensive line and that front for the 49ers is really effective. If that becomes an issue, Stafford will adjust because he had a crappy O-line almost at least half of his line's career where he had to do quick slants or drags or screens. They'll figure out something. They've got athletes.
Yeah, I think they can play a lot of different styles. That's why I don't think it's going to matter. The problem you're going to have is if you can't protect at all, kind of like the Bucs couldn't protect Brady at all in that game previous until late when they finally were able to a little bit, but they couldn't really protect him. He was getting smoked all game. If that's the way it looks for Stafford, I mean, he's, like I said, I still think he's banged up. I mean, I know he's played really well and looked more healthy, but I still think he's banged up. And we've seen injured Stafford, I mean, as Detroit Lions fans before, and when he's really hurt, you can tell. Yeah. I mean, he'll keep playing. I mean, he's as tough as they come, but it's not the same guy. So that's what your concern is. You got to keep him upright, got to keep him healthy. So
I mean that's why it'd be big for them to even come Super Bowl if they win this game, because the Pro Bowl bye week.
Yep, you get 2 weeks.
Yep. So we'll see.